Hello all. Let's try to continue on this project. We should log in. We should log in on here, Smith, and then it's the password. Okay. Jennifer is a member or is an employee, right, from the Toolhouse, and she's also in charge to welcome the attendees to our course. And and we see on here where we ended up last time. It's these tables of each course which are taking place today or later, and we see only one. So let's see why. Okay, so if you head up on here on the date 11th of June and it's the 10th of June, so this is the reason why it doesn't show it, as we missed this course. Okay, if we reload this, we see both of them. Okay. Then we managed last time to put an on-click event on these buttons on here. These wannabe buttons. And we have also sent a HX request with an identifier to a method in the module courses attendance. And these methods, which are addressed or by a request somehow, they are called endpoints. And as last we have seen last time that we can define such an endpoint as a custom endpoint on here, and there's also an authorization, but this property on here does nothing currently. I will show you in 1 minute why it does not do anything to us. Okay. So I have removed this one here, and if I reload the page, and then we see still the same, that works, right? So, and this is the reason, is as the custom endpoints are a little bit differently. These are built-in endpoints which are created from the Trongate desktop app, and beside of this also within the controller and also in the engine API folder. They are all of in the API folder is code already done, but on our custom on here it's missing, so they are a little bit different. The first thing what we need to do is to enable the API security mechanisms, and we do this simple by security. We do this simple by calling them function API outs. This one here. And if we check now what happens on here, we see a 412. There's something not complete, right? A precondition failed. And it says the endpoint is not activated as no authorization rules are declared. And this is the thing. Now, if we would revert these changes here, this authorization thing, a wide open authorization, if we reload this, then we see a 200. So this is happened. Now this thing is acting, but only in combination with the enabled authorization on here. Okay. The next thing is, actually this wide open authorization is not good, as we want to ensure that only an employee of the Toolhouse can issue such a request. If we look on here in the welcome, we have here this house is logged in, and we are asking if somebody is logged in, a member of the user level trainer. This is ensuring actually only that this page is shown to people who are obligated to this. But this request here could be sniffed and sent aside of it, aside to the courses module. So So we need to change the authorization on here. As usual, in the manual, I went through it a few times and I have extracted a few things. And there are several ways for authorization. Six ways. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we currently use the wide open one. It makes an endpoint accessible for everyone, regardless whether they are logged in or not. And the role-based one, this is the one we want to use, is about the user's role. The level title is found in the Trongate user levels database table. You remember when we set up our own authentication and authorization thing, when we added users, we also added in parallel aside to it a user in the Trongate's token system with a specific ID, and this is linked to our authorization thing, authentication thing actually, with this column here. And aside of these Trongate users, they are also grouped or assigned to specific user levels. These are the groups actually, and this is the thing, role-based authorization. Yeah, this is what we want to use. Yeah, but it needs to be logged in, and this person needs to be a trainer, so that this HX request is allowed to be sent or is allowed to be received from the endpoint. And then there are some other ones. I just copied out the sentences out of the documentation. In parallel of this, I use also on here. I put them on here so it's easier for copy and pasting, so I don't need to search the documentation. So we will put this type of authorization in here. We'll replace this with this one, but we will not use the admin thing. We will say trainer, and let's make it in before wrong. Okay, so there is no user level trainer 111, so it will never succeed. This is good. Let's start with this. Let's see what's happening on here. If we reload this thing and try to act, it says 400. It says invalid token. So, but we haven't sent token yet, right? So if we look on here, there is no token. There's just a cookie. Okay, there is something with a token. I don't know why. Maybe as we are here in development mode, maybe somehow. But on here is no entry Trongate token. We need to ensure this. And we can ask in the courses module the welcome function, as this one here is the one that we are executing here, to retrieve the current used token. If you look in the database, Trongate tokens, then we see on here a token, right, from the user ID 1066. 1066, okay. And in the hours 1066, the lower one, Smith, yeah, this is the token of it. So we can ask the Trongate's tokens module. I copied this also out, so it's faster. We can ask the Trongate tokens module. I can load up this module tokens and ask for the currently used token. And we will put this on here. Okay. And as this example it matches that the result is put into a data variable with token, and we are feeding this data on here in our template view welcome. This variable is existing in our view, and we will put this variable in our Ajax thing, in our request on here. We will put on here an parameter Trongate token, and we will add a variable named token. But this is a JavaScript variable on here. We need to set it right to something, and we can set it to this what we are inserting it with the PHP variable from here. So let's see, reload, egg, boom. So now we have our 401. Oh, no, not this. We have the same error, I think. Invalid token. But if we check on here in our header, there's a Trongate token. It ends up with CH16 database. CH16. So our token is in. Okay. Now, the reason that it still fails is, as we defined in the authorization, that the user who is identified or related to the received token should be member of the user levels of trainer 111, but this is not the case, as Jennifer is member of the user level trainer. Reopen here, you see 200. This thing is happy again, with the role-based authorization, and we are happy with this. That's cool. So now we are on here at this position here, as we survived this security method. We could do on here our business logic. Okay. Before we are implementing the business logic, I want to share one additional thing and make a small test with you. As we are using a custom endpoint, not all functionality as the automatically created endpoints are existing. So there are some things missing, and on here it's written on custom endpoints. There is this limitation listed. The normal mechanisms for declaring before hooks and after hooks will not work for custom API endpoints. So I wanna show you the before hooks and after hooks. And we will not get it running with our custom endpoints as they are not working, right? So let's misuse also, if we have to pay some error messages, let's misuse. This is cool. You see this one here. Let's misuse this endpoint on here for our purpose. Let's add this on here, trainer, and let's change the destination of our AJAX request on here, right? Let's change the destination. Okay, so now our AJAX request would be sent to this endpoint here. Let's see how this behaves. And we see on here API count courses, and the answer is ident is not a valid value or column name. This is caused as the implementation of this method expects something. I don't know. It expects a parameter. I don't know. We would have to have a look at what it's expecting, but it's not relevant, as we want to test before hook. And we can do this now on here. If we add on here a before hook parameter, and we will assign the value to this parameter, do something. Oh yes, it's Maria. Something before. And if we define such a method with in the property before hook, and we can actually this is now a good question actually, right? Would it work if we would do something here? And everything what's captured from the Trongate framework and fed into our pre-hook function. There is is stored in a variable here. That's why. Let's see if this works. You see, let's make it nice. It's interesting that it's doing something what we want. It's just outputting what it received so far, right? Yeah. And with these things we can do something before this method is actually executed. Yeah, so in preparation to something. Yeah. And there is also an after hook, but we have seen in the first try that we are not satisfying this method here. So we could not test now after hook. Yeah, but it would be the same the same thing, just in the difference that when this function finishes its job and sends something back from the Ajax call back to the client, then this data can be intercepted and modified in the documentation or in a YouTube or live sim. I don't know. Yeah. There was an example with a date. So if this thing would output or return a date, then this after hook, no here, then the after hook could actually format it or something. Okay, this is also a mechanism, but this only works on automatically created one. But let's test this. So let's remove this and let's put this in here in our custom, and this should actually not work, right? And let's correct also our endpoint on here. We'll remove this. This is use a learning tutorial thing, right? We need to experiment a little bit. So on here, and we have put it on here before I do something. So actually, if it would work, we would see the same thing again, right? But as the documentation says, not supported, it does not take care about this now. Yeah, this I wanted to show you in addition. So, but if we want to have something like this, right, then we need to implement, get rid of this, we don't need this. We need to implement this on here. Some before manipulations or whatever, yeah, and before we are outputting in here, return result, response, doing here some after manipulations, yeah, on here, yeah, blah, 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 yeah, after hook stuff, and on here before hook stuff, right? Okay, so yeah, so this is also addressed in in this way.